Um, Good morning. I call this hearing to order. My name is William Boyd. I'm one of the legal counsels for the Nebraska Department of Education, and I will be the presiding officer conducting the hearing today virtually on December 19th, 2025, using Zoom, related to the proposed revisions to Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 13, also known as Rule 13, related to regulations and procedures for exempting schools for which parents elect not to meet legal requirements for school approval and accreditation. The legal notice of hearing was published for this hearing in the Omaha World Herald on November 18th, 2025. To begin the hearing, a Nebraska Department of Education staff will describe and explain the proposed rule. This will be followed by testimony from any interested persons. Each person presenting written or oral testimony is requested to first state and spell their first and last name, and provide a general indication of where you live, the city, the county, the school district, etc. Then please state a concise suggestion or recommendation of what action you would like the board to take, and then state the rationale or reason for your recommendation. During your testimony, you may reinforce previous testimony, but please refrain from just repeating previously given testimony. Each person testifying will be limited to 5 minutes. If additional time is needed, it may be granted at the discretion of the presiding officer. At the conclusion of all testimony from interested persons, the Nebraska Department of Education staff member who opened on the rule will have an opportunity to respond to the testimony presented, which will then conclude the testimony in the hearing. The testimony presented will be recorded and the recording made available to the State Board of Education and to the public via YouTube at the time the State Board considers the adoption of this rule. All written testimony must be submitted to the hearing official prior to 5 p.m. today in order to be made part of the record of this hearing. The email address for submitting written comments is nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. Again, that is nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. This email address may also be found on the department's website at www.education.ne.gov and following the rules and regulations link on the right side of the page to the public notices of upcoming rule hearings. At this time, we will begin the hearing on Rule 13, Regulations and Procedures for Exempting Schools for which parents elect not to meet legal requirements for school approval and accreditation, with Bryce Wilson from the Department of Education describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Bryce, you may begin.
All right, good morning. Chapter 13 is adopted pursuant to Nebraska Revenue Statute 79-318 and 79-1601. The purpose of the proposed revisions to Rule 13 are to reflect statutory changes and align with current practices. Rule 13 was last revised on May 21st, 2016. Substantive changes contained in the draft rule include allow one parent or legal guardian to file instead of requiring both parents. 2, adds additional educational decision maker as an approved filer on behalf of students. 3, removes statutory language repeated in rule and removes several form attachments consistent with other rule revision practices. And number 4, allows for written assurance of compliance with statutes and regulations instead of requiring evidence of compliance with statutes and regulations. These proposed revisions have been made through collaborative efforts with exempt school stakeholders, the Rules and Regulations Committee of the State Board, and others. The communication with interested parties allowed for input and feedback at several different points in the process and helped shape the current proposed version of Rule 13. That concludes my opening.
Thank you, Bryce. I see several people on the call, so I'm going to start taking oral testimony or oral comments from anyone that is on the Zoom call. If you are interested in making a comment, either raise your hand using the Zoom app or wave your hand or unmute yourself or let me know. So, all right. Not sure what your name is, but you're labeled as Dallo5, so I will start with you. Please state your full name for the record and spell it, please.
My name is David Lostro, David Lostroh. I serve as the legislative coordinator for the Nebraska Christian Home Educators Association. I might say that we very much appreciate the previous NDE drafts 15-day requirements moving back to the promptly as before. So we're happy to see that. Overall, I think that the department did a fine job on Rule 13. We would prefer the 30-day commissioner response in section 00801 and 00802 be changed to 15 days, simply because it could create some problems with the delay. I mean, this can easily be rectified by a call to the department if anybody gets into trouble. And this has to do with children who are completing their work, either kind of doing the dropout capability and also completing early. Either one of those two could get into trouble with the school district if somebody reports them not being in school. If that could be changed 15 days, that would be nice. I would request that change would still happen. But overall, we are satisfied with this Rule 13 hearing draft, especially with the return to the promptly and all the 15-day requirements. And I'm also trusting that the forms will remain true to the 79-1601 law and Rule 13. Previously, the forms had been part of the rule, and so far in implementing LB 1027, which this new rule is largely as a result of that, that everything has been done very nicely. And I've been assured that the forms on the computer or on the video, or excuse me, the computer entry and also the papers will remain true to what's on there even right now. So I trust that will continue. And with that, I conclude my comments.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to make comment? All right, going once. All right, seeing none. Bryce, is there anything else you would like to add?
I would just say we'll review the 30-day. I'll have to check in on that, but I do know, regardless of what's in rule, our practice has been to do it as quickly as possible, and I think we oftentimes are much faster than the 30 days on that recognition. So I think that's all my only comments.
All right.
If I can return a comment.
Yes, sir.
Bryce, I appreciate your input. This is not a major issue with us, frankly. So I don't know that it's essential to make this change. I'm just commenting that would be nice. So that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for participating today. And with that, we will close the hearing at 9:10 a.m. Have a great day.